It totally happened again. So I have to do something. Welcome, but 1 second. That does this thing where it closes my tab with the stream on it. I can't really do that. So every stream opens with me fixing that. Welcome. So I'm actually live streaming after a month. I want to say, wow, I looked today and went to do a live stream and I have 150 subscribers. So amazing. I don't know why 150 people would want to listen to me talk about this stuff, but okay, this is great. I'm not in it for the subscribers or anything, obviously, as you could tell by if you paid any attention to any of my content. But thank you. It's awesome. It makes me feel good. So I've been working on my real job, so I haven't been doing much airplane stuff, but I have trying to late at night figure out some of this stuff, not on a live stream because how boring can you get, but I thought maybe I would go for an hour on a Friday night when no one is out there, but that's okay. I don't care. It's all good. And again, I'm not doing this for subscribers or for money or for eventually getting it, growing the channel. I think other people are doing that. Great. I'm doing this because I just want to share my experience of flying airplanes. The opening was one of my favorite planes. It's over there that I like to fly all the time. Maybe because it's one of the few I have working right now. I don't know. But I just want to share the joy of building and flying these RC airplanes. I mostly focus on... Excuse me for 1 sec. Sorry. And I don't have my coffee. I'm going to have to get my coffee. I mostly focus on INAV stuff because that's what I like to build the most. It just takes more, I don't know, involvement, and I like to have an involved build, I guess. It takes me forever to do. But I also like to fly line of sight, and I'm kind of out of practice flying line of sight. I learned how to fly, well, I first learned how to fly quadcopters, like big ones back in like 2014, back in the day when everybody built like giant quadcopters. And I learned to fly that line of sight first, then FPV. Quadcopters, yes. Line of sight first, then FPV. I would put lights on them and stuff so I could see which way things were pointing. And then I got into airplanes like in around... I was always wanting to build airplanes. In fact, I watched flight test and I built FT. I built a whole FT Aero without the electronics just to learn the foam board stuff, and I've built a few of them actually and tried several painting techniques and covering and whatever. I'm getting too long in the tooth here, but anyway, that's how I got started. And that's what I'm doing. I'm not doing this for... I'm not very good at community or anything, so sorry about all that, you know, that I don't do that, but whatever. So I'm here. I'm like here today, and I'm building this FT Flerken still. So the last live stream was a month ago when I went over my original idea of building it slightly different. I have not built a single one of these planes, but I have over here, I'm off to the side, I have like a zillion Flerken parts that I've built, and the cutouts of the plans and all kinds of stuff. And then here I have, I hope my microphone is working. Yes, it is. Okay. And here I have my parts that I was going to go over. So this is the channel update is that I haven't been doing much in the last month except working on my regular job and dealing with life things, and like late at night sometimes fiddle around here and fiddle around there with the Flerken parts. So I figured out that I guess I should review that really quick too. So how long have I been at this? Okay. I don't want to be boring. So, oh, and then one more thing is that we're in the middle of a thunderstorm. I have my puppy down here, Zoe. Here, I can point. No, I can't point the camera at her. She's down over there, and she's afraid of thunderstorms, so she hangs out down here with me in the basement. So I have a bed for her every time it thunders or lightnings or loud bangs outside. She gets scared and comes down here. Excuse me. So I have almost all the electronics, and oh my god, now I'm going to sneeze. Another thing I deal with at this time of year is allergies. Well, it's any time of year. So hold on, I want to try to mute this real quick so I don't blow my nose in your face. There we go. I didn't want to be super gross. Okay, so to review really quickly, this is a variation on the original Flerken design that is yet untested. Yes, untested. It's basically exactly the same as the Flerken. The outcome, the overall outside shape and everything will be exactly the same as the Flerken, with a few just really minor edges that are different. Okay, so the idea is to maintain a single plate that's bigger and thicker and not have a giant removable nose like the Josh Bixler design, but instead to have the parts fit on and then have hatches, and that's what we're going to have. It's going to also have lots of light. So I've got the bottom figured out, so the bottom fits the, oops, let me get it in the right spot. It goes right kind of like that. I'll try to fit it on later. Okay, so that's the Flerken variation, and the bottom piece, we'll put it all together in a few minutes here. But that's the idea, and it will be reinforced with these spars, 2 spars front to back. And so what I thought I would do, I don't even remember, I'm so terrible that I don't remember if I went over the electronics and hardware I was going to use for this, for the INAV build for this. So I have everything basically except for 2 things, and that is the external camera. So what I'm going to do is have a camera switcher. Well, let's start from the basics. Okay, so the basics, the first thing, the motor, the power system is going to be the Sunny Sky X2. So not the super new ones, but the previous generation, which are still for sale. And I don't think it's a generation, it's like a line. So the 2 is not as good as the 3. Okay, whatever. It's 2216, 1250 kV. So the classic motor, if you're like into the back in the day when I was first learning about how to build these autopilot computers. Hi, ThinkFlight. Got to start somewhere. What's the name of the model? It is a FT Flerken. FT Flerken. And it's so it's not my design. It's a Josh Bixler flight test, if you're familiar with flight test, but this is a variation on that. But thanks for asking. I don't know if that makes sense. Okay, so the 2216 1250 kV is like the classic motor used for say the Mini Talon. That's what we're starting with, and it should be in here. We don't have to get them all out and show you. Everybody knows what a motor looks like, but there it is. I've put it together. It's not the short shaft version. It's like the long shaft version, which I don't prefer, but That will connect to the 3D printed that I've designed and have uploaded to Thingiverse. I don't know if I have a link in the description, but maybe. That's the, of course, if you cut your own foam board for the model, then you're going to need to make your own parts, like for the motor mount. So I have this uploaded on Thingiverse. It has nut captures in the back for M3. It fits into the motor thing, which I will show you. So the motor mount is ready. The motor is ready. The servos. Let's move on. Oh, ESC. So motor, ESC. The next thing is the ESC. And for the ESC, I'm going to be using the Skywalker 50 amp generic, what is it called? The Hobby Wing Skywalker. So made by Hobby Wing. It's the Skywalker line, and I like these. And we'll have to get this and set the brake on it. I want the brake set. Okay, so that's the main power. I think the most efficient prop is going to be the 9-inch prop for this. 9 by 4, 9 by 4.5, something like that. I do not have a prop yet. Okay, moving on to the servos, the basic servos that I always use. Where did I just put them? And I have them centered already and ready to glue into the wings. They have to be assembled and glued into the wings for the flight test Flerken builds. Again, the wings are exact. I have not modified the wings at all. Oh, I did change the spar, just reinforce the spars, that's all. So I'll show that. I did show that in the last live stream. Anyway, so the let's get it zoomed in a little bit more. The servos are centered and ready to go and marked left to right. I fitted them, so they're ready. So Emax ES08MA2, which I always use. I either use the analog or digital version, and I think analog is probably better for this particular design, considering all the radios that I'm going to have in this ship. Okay, so that is the power system and the basic electronics. 2 servos, motor, ESC. For the receiver, I do not have it in this bag. The receiver is going to be my standard R9 Mini. I have some. Andy gave me a bunch, so those are what I use. Free FR Sky R9. Don't laugh. I like it. It works great for me. So that's what the receiver will be. Now, where the receiver is going to be located, we're going to get into all that in a minute. Okay, so let's get into the what's going to be the most important part, of course, is the flight controller. So what are we going to use for the flight controller on this model? Another thing, don't laugh, but I have here a Racer Star F405 Nano with its separate USB-C. It's got an SD card for black box. It's a 3-board stack that has to be taken apart and have the pins all soldered on. That still has to be done. The firmware has not been uploaded to this. Nothing's been done, but the flight controller is here. And the flight controller mount, the 3D printed mount, is actually inside the model here. So it's got a 20 by 20 hole on the Thingiverse, and it can take this. It's also got a 24 by whatever mounting pattern for the Maytech F411 WSE. But this flight controller will be used on this model because I'm going to also put INAV radar on this model, and the WSE does not have enough UARTs for INAV radar. So, yeah, so that's what's going on there. So the flight controller piece will go right into the little sockets there that hold it, and the flight controller, so that's at the heart of the system, of course. yet to be installed. The GPS is just a standard ready-made RC Mini 220 GPS. And I have it mounted right here in the top of the what is called the rear cover piece for the Flerken. If you have your pieces, piece number 3-1, I believe. And then also I've written on here in several places, like I've written what colors are for the connectors for the GPS, but I've already pre-wired. I've taken a look at the wire map on the flight controller and pre-wired the connector, so that's ready to go. And I've also printed out a little cutout that will be the hatch, and the hatch will hinge, well, not hinge, but it will close right there. Okay, so that's the GPS. What else do we have? For our flight controller hookup, we also have a VTX and a camera. So the VTX right now, actually, there's another VTX coming from Race Day Quads, so I'm either going to use that or this. And I'll try to go over how I'm going to mount all this stuff. And what did Think Flight say? Ever try Arduplane? Funny you should ask that. I have an Ardu copter from the olden days, from like 2015 or so. And I'll come back to this VTX. And I have some Pixhawk 4 flight controllers. So I'm thinking of doing circling back, as the young ones say, circling back to Arduplane. So I haven't tried Arduplane specifically, but I have tried Arducopter. I have flown Arducopter. I had a laptop with the ground station, and I have the 900 megahertz telemetry radios. Now that will cause a problem with my current crop of mostly 915 megahertz R9 radios. So if I'm going to do Arduplane in the future, I'm going to have to get the 433 megahertz telemetry if I'm going to do the radio telemetry. Maybe you can do Mavlink over Crossfire if I switch to Crossfire. That's probably what I'll have to do if I go to Arduplane. So that's the answer to that question. But I am definitely interested in Arduplane, and it's definitely a more serious proposition than INAV. And INAV is not simple by any means. So anyway, but my INAV craft worked pretty good, mostly. And as a general rule, it's pretty easy to set up INAV and pretty easy to fly without much tuning or anything. In fact, I've never tuned an airplane properly yet. Okay, back to the VTX. So I've just got right now a cheapy Eachine and a Foxeer version 3 Lollipop, an Eachine 5258. I've used a ton of these. They're actually pretty good. They only go up to 600 milliwatts, so you're not going to make any long distance runs with it. Now I have something different coming, but I'm going to wait for the next live stream to open all those, I guess, and see if maybe decide if I'm going to use that VTX. But in any case, this antenna will be used, or something similar, because this antenna is going to be mounted upside down in the bottom cavity, because this Flerken plane has huge spaces inside of it that have nothing in it. Like if you think of like an AR wing, right? You've got some spaces in it, but it's a foam filled thing, so the huge cavities that you would have if you were making a hollow foam board thing aren't there, even though you do have lots of spaces in this particular design. I should have pulled out a different one for it. But look, I even freaked my dog out by picking up my airplane. But this thing has these huge cavities in the side and down below, which we'll see when we put it halfway together, pretend together. Okay, so that's the VTX. So then the next thing is the camera. And the camera, I made another 3D printed mount that is also on Thingiverse. And I'm working on doing some variations for the regular kind of size cameras that people would use today in mini and nano, like the cameras like this, which is a Foxier something. But I have a stock of these. I have like 5 or 6 of these Runcam Eagles. Eagle Pro 2. So I like them. They're good cameras, but they are full-size cameras, and it's a big airplane, so who cares, right? So that's the 3D printed. The only one I've uploaded to Thingiverse is for this size camera so far. But, and also this will work without the lower plate design that I've done. This plate will also work just by gluing it up here to the regular flight test design, the original design. Okay, so that's for the camera. Now, I like to have camera switchers, and I do telemetry over one radio, either 433 or 915. So one radio, and what do you use for your radio link? That's the question. You're using Crossfire, or you're using Oh, you said it right there. You can do Mavlink over DragonLink. I gotcha. Okay, well, DragonLink is out of my league. So there you go. It's gonna be Crossfire. I can do Mavlink over Crossfire, I'm pretty sure. You can correct me if I'm wrong, please. Okay, so I like to have camera switchers, but the F405 Nano, the Racer Star F405 Nano flight controller does not have a camera switcher. I suspect that has to do with the limitation of the MCU itself. So the F405 MCU. So I'm using one of these. I have a bunch of these, Hobby King and other same from AliExpress. This one happens to be Hobby King, but they're all the same. Camera switchers, 3 camera switchers. So I'm going to have 2 additional Caddx Ant cameras. If you're not familiar with those, they're super cheap. Like even today, they're like, well, I bought the last ones they had at Race Day Quads, but the last 16:9 silver ones, I should say. I should have anyway, that's another story. They're only shipping 2 because they ran out, and I should have said, hey, they wrote to me. I should have said, hey, send me the black one. They probably had a black one in stock. Send me the black one. I don't care. Anyway, little camera switcher. That's going to use an output, a channel output. I'll have to do like a channel mapping in INAV. And that will connect to this port, and then the cameras and the VTX. So the flight controller will have its output. That will go to this camera switcher. And then one of the camera number 1 will be the front camera. And then I'm going to put a down-facing camera. So the Caddx Ant is a tiny little nano-sized camera. It's only like 20 bucks shipped. Just put a little hole in the bottom, not in this plate, but where the bottom plate will be. When the plane is constructed, because there's the bottom half, of course, under here. So, down-facing camera, front-facing camera, and then either a rear or side-facing camera. No gimbals or anything on this one. Maybe a future one. We'll put a gimbal or head tracker or some crazy. I'd like to do some stuff like that. But, so camera switcher. So, in the side here, in the giant cavity in the side, is where all the VTX stuff is going to go. I'm going to have it all over here, kind of close to the flight controller. The VTX is going to point, and I'm working on a mount, straight down. the camera mount, the antenna is going to be on the bottom. So the VTX is going to be like this. Basically with the antenna port poking through a hole in this plate. And then the antenna is going to be sticking out down here underneath on the bottom of the plane and basically flush with the very bottom edge of the fuselage. So one of the things that I'm doing with this, which is the first time for me, because like I said, this channel, I'm not an expert plane builder or anything. This isn't about me and my expertise. This is about me and my experience of being a regular RC pilot person. So, I've never built one without a bunch of antennas poking out everywhere. Nothing's going to be poking out. The VTX is going to be inside, and the antenna is going to be inside. The signal's only got to go through foam board. The top of the antenna will be like flush with the bottom of the foam board, kind of like that. And then the only thing that's going to be sticking out that's not part of this clean design, because I didn't take it into account, and I could still if I change this front, but I'm not going to, is when I put the RunCam Thumb HD camera on. One or two of those will be on this plane. So those will probably stick out somewhere, obviously, because I haven't built it into that. I haven't done that. Okay. So, I'm also kind of going a little crazy on the lighting. So here's the first lighting harness. All this bit here. Oh, this is the front camera harness. I've already got that done. The GPS harness is done. And the light harness is 80% done, because there's also going to be lights at the wingtips, and I haven't built those two harnesses yet. But it's got this 24 light ring light from Adafruit. It's got one of these suckers. Yeah, look at that. That is going... I have other cameras. I could get this other camera going over here and show you on this camera. Okay, so that is going on this back bottom plate. So it's going to stick in here kind of like this. Okay, so we'll stick it in there in a preliminary fashion. So that's all ready to go. This part is the part that's going to plug into the rest of the lights that go to the wing. And this part goes up the fuselage and is all laid out for the lights, the front lights that go into the front cover. And then there's going to be two side lights. So there's going to be this ring light that's going to be configured in INAV for a ring. These two side lights, and yeah. Oh, the wing lights. So there'll be two lights at the end of each wingtip, like the nav lights, and one will be there'll be the nav light color, and then there'll be the flashers. What do we've got here? Telemo Crossfire sketchy. Gave up on Crossfire. Don't think they've nailed it yet. Well, that might delay my foray into Arduplane if I'm gonna. Well, not necessarily, because I could do separate radios. That's what I did with the quadcopter. So, okay. So, I'm still not quite ready to build it, like to start gluing it all together. Oh, there's other parts to it, other parts. So the camera switcher, the last electronic part. We've gone over everything else, right? The lighting. Yes, we have. We've gone over all the other electronics. The last electronic part is the INAV radar. So I've already got this. I did this on another live stream where I configured this to INAV radar per the instructions of Darren Lines, and Mr. D Falling with Style is his channel. So yeah, so this will be connected to a UART on the flight controller. And where am I going to mount this? Well, that's a good question. So it's got this little screen, and when you fire it up, it does like the INAV radar logo, and then it tells you like its communication status and stuff, and what number it is or what letter it is. You can have up to four, I think. A, B, C, D. I think that's how it works. Don't know the exact details, to be honest, at this moment. So I'm thinking of putting it, I need to put it as far away from all the FPV stuff as I can. And I'm actually thinking of putting it in one of the wings. And just having the antenna kind of like, the wing is pretty shallow. It's got a not, it doesn't have a thick, what is that? Not cord. Whatever that word is. Anyway, so I'm thinking of doing it in the wings. Of course, I have the wings cut over here and ready. Here's what oh, poor doggy. Here's a wing paint. Oh, here's the wing ends that I was going to do today. Oh, look at that. I found them. Happy days. These are the last two pieces of foam that I have not cut out for this plane. Those are the patterns for that. These are just a boring wing. So when it gets folded over, the spar goes in this section, and there's kind of going to be some space inside the wing up here. So I'm just thinking of having the screen facing down. It'll be covered with clear packing tape or some kind of clear plastic. Sometimes I keep clear plastic like from a cake thing. When you buy a cake at a grocery store in the United States, some grocery stores give you an entire plastic giant housing for it. Anyway, I cut windows out of that for airplanes. Anyway, that's that. I've got the leading edges, the inner wing panels cut. I've already put them on and shaped them and then cut them back off. Oh, the other modification, the spars are all ready. They're just the same spars in the original design, except I added some reinforcement. And we have the RunCam thumb, the HD camera. Never been turned on yet. I'm going to load it up, upload the firmware onto it so it can do the real steady go stuff, and either 3D print a mount or use the mount. It does come with a 3D printed mount. The other pilots need the LoRa to see where they are. Yes. So each pilot needs to have one of these modules hooked up to the flight controller through a UART, and that UART configured as an MSP device. And from that MSP stream, this microcontroller will figure out the GPS location of the other. They send their GPS locations to each other. They send their 3D location to each other, from what I can tell. And they try to map that location onto a pointer on the OSD. So when you do this INAV radar, you're going to get additional things in your INAV OSD. You need to have configure the pointer a certain way and stuff like that. So I think that's the answer to that question. And my friend Andy he did build a AR wing with this device in it, but I never built my plane at the same time that he had his plane, and I think he's since crashed that plane. But I've got like 4 of these modules now, so there's no excuse for us not to do it. And then, of course, I've got the FPV combat system. I'm building 3. I've got 3 FPV combat planes in a big pile right there. They're all going to be FT arrows. I've got to do that project. That should be being done before this, because it's all done. It's all done. It's just got to be glued up, got to be assembled. And I was going to do that on a live stream too, supposedly. Anyway, there we go. Doesn't matter. We'll get to it. I'm going to get to it. So yeah, that's the INAV radar module. So I think I'm going to put it in the wing. And if I don't put it in the wing, if I decide it's too sketchy or too hard to fit it in there, I'm going to use this giant section underneath here. So the way this works is, here, let's put this together partially. Get this piece out of there. That piece goes like that. This piece we can like tape temporarily. Let me just bear with me for a minute. We'll tape it together so we can see what it's going to look like. We'll just put a few bits of tape like that I can peel back off real easy. And we'll just do one. We'll wait till, here, we'll just do one back here too. Okay. Okay, now we're going to put it upside down. Then we're going to put this piece on. This is called the lower former, I think. So the way this is going to work is that the bottom pieces, I should point the camera down more. The bottom pieces, this is going to come out here somewhere. This is going to come out here somewhere. This goes like that. There's so much space in here. This is going to go back up through a hole in this plate to go connect to the wing lights. Okay, so I've got that, and then this gets, the lights come around. They get, oh right, they got to go inside the middle channel. That goes through that hole right there. Boink! These come through the middle channel. Then they come around this way, around to the front, around this way, and then back. Oh, I have it backwards. Okay. How did I just do that? Yeah. Back to this one. There. It goes like that. Something like that. And then back to that one. And then this goes back through here. All the way back up to, this is the beginning of the light string. And then this goes through the hole into the flight controller. So this is already wired up. All the lights wired up, ready to go. They just fit into these little holes that are in here. So I'll get that all glued and put together. So the question is where does the INAV radar, oh, and so this is what it looks like. Let me get all that wiring stuffed in there. I don't want to have to tape that down. This is what the bottom looks like. So there's these huge cavities in here. So the opposite side of, so the VTX antenna is going to come down like flush. Actually, it's going to stick out a little bit because it's not going to be right here. It's going to be right like on the side here. So it's going to come out, and that little round head is going to stick out right there. That's all it's, so that part will be sticking out. So I'm thinking of putting the radio, this radio, like having its little window on the opposite side sticking out of the, and then the antenna just glued in there somewhere. Because there's these huge cavities. So the wings, this, once this is assembled, this part is the bottom. There's no other This is the bottom, and the wing is dihedraled out from here and here. So it's pretty cool looking plane. It kind of looks like, sort of looks like a trying to imitate the what's it called? The mini Drac, the Drac, you know, the right wing Drac line of airplanes. It's got that sort of look vaguely if you try to do it in foam board, which Josh Bixler did an excellent job, I think. So that is the electronics roundup of that. All I have to do is get the rest of the pieces, which is just the cameras, the 2 cameras basically. And all I have to cut out is these pieces and glue these on. And I was gonna, how long have I been going? 51 minutes. Wow. Usually I drone on for longer. Oh, and of course I've got the front piece fitted too. I'll show you that because that turned out looking pretty cool. Where is it? Aha! So on the front, this is upside down. Let's turn it right side up. The front piece, let me fit it on here. There. Now it all get glued together. I fit it together tightly, but it's going to be a nice angled front, and this part will overlap. It'll be like a shingling, as Josh Bixler says when he's building his airplanes, with the other front piece, which is this lower front piece that has the front 2 lights in it. In the front, it also has, so that front piece shingle will shingle over this piece. And it does work. It all fits together. I took a lot of time fitting these together and cutting and building out, and this is like, I have a pile of them over there. It's hilarious. Alright, so that's basically it for this installment. I just wanted to, I mean, I couldn't believe when I was thinking of doing this live stream that people are still adding their subscription. So I wanted to say thank you to all those people, and to say I am going to get my shit together, stuff together, and build this plane, and build these planes over here. Look at, I mean, here, let's put this aside gently. These are 3 flight test arrows, all the pieces, all constructed, and these are all the 3D printed pods with all the flight test, the flight controller and the VTX and the FPV combat system with the cameras and the ring lights and the 3D printed center pod. They're all ready. It's all ready to go. I've got all this stuff. So I have to get my act together. It's all here. I think Andy's given me, he gave me the motors that people have bought. Andy and Kevin and I, they were going to build 3. We're building 3 of those FPV combat systems. So 3 flight test arrows, 3 FPV combat systems. They are on Crossfire. Speaking of your favorite thing, they're on Crossfire. So they have a better radio system than I have, but I don't have Crossfire, so I can't actually bind their stuff. So I have to build their planes and get like the flight controller programmed, firmware updated and all that stuff, but yet not be able to do test all the modes and stuff. So I'll have to bring it to them. We'll have to sit out there at the field or something and do that, because I won't be able to bind their things to their radios and all that kind of stuff. So I'm looking forward to that, though. I've got to get it done. Those guys are probably like irritated at me at the very least. So there's that. So what else? I've got some things coming up. I'm going to do an unboxing when I do. Oh, and then I've got to finish building this. So this is another FT Arrow. And this is my favorite plane. And I crashed it. And nothing has changed except I just built new wing panels. It's all the same stuff except for wing panels. And I'm doing a new different front end so I have room for the GoPro session, and I put a little motor extension on the back. So all I have to do is glue these wings together. So I think that's going to be the next live stream. I'm going to build this. So this is going to be INAV 4. That's the only thing that's going to change. Everything. This was INAV 2.5.2. Or no, 2.2.1. And I flew this plane except for these wing panels, all this other stuff on here, hundreds of flights on the same foam board wings, hundreds of flights. I mean, let's say 200 flights. I'll bet you it was 200 flights. Somewhere between 150 and 200 flights, I'm going to say. But I'm going to say 200 flights. And of those 200 flights, probably only had, I don't know, 5 or 6 crashes. Let's say 5 or 6 crashes. That's it. And the last crash definitely was a bad one. Well, I think I had one. The first crash, I actually had to replace a wing panel. So I managed to replace one wing panel without, it didn't break any of the spars or anything. That's another thing. The spars, these are the original wooden spars in here. They haven't broken. I was able to extract the wing, the old wing out and get all the bits out and clean this 3D printed part all up. So this is basically what this pod is, just a slight variation on that pod, in that it has a built-in front piece and it has a smaller camera thing. There's no accommodation for HD because this one is designed specifically for the FPV combat system. In fact, you can see the little gun is already installed in this one. You can also put the gun over here if you want to. They wanted the gun over the camera, so the gun's going over the camera. Okay, so yeah. Anyway, so that's what I'm going to do. That's the channel update. Like I said, this is not about being like selling stuff to anybody. I'm not trying to sell this. In fact, this Nano flight controller isn't for sale anymore. So I'm not like recommending stuff to people. I'm just trying to say this is how I'm going to build it. I know this stuff worked. For example, what's in this plane? These same servos, this same VTX, the same VTX antenna. What's the camera? The same camera. They run Cam Eagle Pro 2. Now I have this white tape around it because in that last crash, I cracked the outside of it, and I'm too lazy to change the whole shell thing and refocus the lens and all that. This has the same servos, the Emax analog servos. This has not the same flight controller, but it has a custom mount for the Maytech F411 WSE, which is not for sale. They do have a replacement, though. If you click on the affiliate links below, no, I'm joking, there's no affiliate links. what was I going to say? The Maytech WTE is a new version of the Maytech WSE, and I do believe it's even in stock at Race Day Quads. So there you go. I'm not trying to shill for them. I truly am not, but I'm just saying. I looked at other flight controllers that I bought that I'm not talking about today for no reason, because I've already babbled on for long enough. Okay, so what else is in here? So the Maytech F411, dual low ESR, Panasonic high quality, 1000 microfarad, 35 volt caps on there for noise cancellation. There are some LED lights, but nothing fancy. There's just a light, a beacon light, 2 rear facing lights, and a front light right there. You can maybe not see it, it's in there. GPS is mounted right here in the wing. Same GPS as I'm using in the Flerken. I tend to use the same stuff. The WSC has a built-in camera switcher, so I have a front-facing camera and a rear or side-facing camera, depending on how I want to mount it. This camera is it is not one of the Caddx Ant. It's one of those super cheap Banggood specials that has the little microphone hanging out the bottom. That's what this one is. And it's actually not such a bad camera, especially for a secondary camera. It works pretty good. This wire's for the microphone. I'm not using the microphone. That's basically it. There's no other. Oh, the motor is, the ESC is just a cheap old quad ESC from back in the day. It'll probably blow up on me someday. I don't even know what brand it is. And the motor is possibly a Sunny Sky motor, except for the fact that I have never been able to find any reference on Sunny Sky's website to this specific motor, which is a 2208S. Okay, if you ever find a 2208S and that makes it an official Sunny Sky motor, let me know. I have like 6 of these motors. I bought them from a reputable dealer in the United States, Buddy RC. But anyway. Okay, so now I've babbled on. I wanted to go an hour. I've gone an hour. Oh, the R9 mounted in the wing. So this is also how I'm going to do the R9 in the Flerken. Let's go back to the Flerken. The Flerken is going to have 2 fins that are right here. So they're not on the wings. They're on the center-ish area. And the R9 antenna. So the R9 is going to be placed like inside here. Or inside here, right back here, and the antenna will be in the fin. So I haven't worked out that exactly yet because I haven't built the fin yet. Oh, I have cut out the fins. I just haven't glued them all together. So that's all I got. I really have to do some serious work, but I'm not going to do that boring work. I'm thinking of doing like, I keep thinking, I do want to just do some regular content, even though I'm not like a serious YouTuber. I do want to do some regular content. So I'm thinking of having a workshop Wednesday or a weekend workshop where I just work on stuff and people could hang out. I keep saying that. I've said that many times before. If I build it, they will come, right? I'm done babbling. I want to thank you for watching Think Flight. It's an honor, actually. I watch your stuff all the time. Thank you for watching. And which thing do I have to do? Oh, number 6. Number 6. So, thanks for watching. The FT Flerken's in progress. The FT Aero's in progress. The FT Aero Combats are in progress. I feel like Bruce Simpson and X-Jet are RC model reviews. I have way too many projects going and I have to finish one of them. all of them. Thanks for watching, everybody.